Hello students, we are learning CBSE 12 Biology Evolution chapter. In the previous class, we learned about how universe originated, how firstly Earth originated from there, and how the first form of life came into existence. We also learned that all life forms come into existence from a previously existing life form. But if that is the case, how come we have how did the first life form, from the one from where everything originates, that came into existence? And we looked at a theory called as theory of chemical evolution. We also looked at many different theories that explains how life came into existence. All that was done in the previous class. If you didn't watch that video, please do watch and please do subscribe to my channel. Today we are going to look at evolution and why are we looking at that? All right, so we looked at the previous topics and we understood that life was formed, first form of life, non-cellular at around 3 billion years ago, cellular life form 2000 million years ago. All that is fine, but now when you look at the world on earth, you can see so much of biodiversity. Did it all come from that first life form? Kind of, yes, that is what the evidence suggests. That means from that first few life came out all these diverse organisms that you are looking at. So therefore, we need to understand evolution and the theories of evolution. Before we go into the theories of evolution, probably we'll take it up in the next class, natural selection and Lamarck's theory and all that. But before that, we should know, is evolution really happening? Yes, it is happening, and there are certain evidences to prove that evolution is happening. All right, and there are different ways in which we can prove that, and these are the evidences. First one is called as the paleontological evidence. The word paleontology means study of fossils. So we are going to study fossils to know whether evolution takes place or not. So textbook sentences I'm taking, and in a simpler way I'll explain for you what exactly it is. So you know that there are different rocks, right? Different types of rocks that we have learned. One of them is called as sedimentary rocks, and as this one. All right, sedimentary rocks look somewhat like this. That is, it has many layers. It every some million years probably it forms a new layer on top. All right, so that means that the lowermost layer would be formed, let us say, 10 billion years ago, and the layer above that would be 5 billion years ago, and so on. I'm just giving an example. What this is, how is it useful for us to study evolution? So now please read this sentence. Study of fossils. You know what is a fossil? The dead and decayed, preserved organisms in different layers indicate geological period in which they existed. That means if I get a fossil from the lowermost layer, I know that that particular organism existed in that particular time period, and so on. So that is how the sedimentary rocks are useful in collecting evidences. What evidences? Evidences that evolution happened, or from one organism another organism was evolved. Okay, so please underline these two statements and write that in the exam as well. Different aged rock sediments contain fossils of different life forms who probably died during the formation of that particular sediment. And the other one, give an example of dinosaurs and so on. Okay. Next is biochemical evidence. What exactly is biochemical evidence? For example, organisms like probably us and some other organisms like fish, both of us would be having some protein, like for example hemoglobin, common. How are we having these kind of proteins in common? A fish also has the same protein. How is that? It is probably because we both had a common ancestor, isn't it? That is what this statement says. Similarities in proteins and genes, all right, having the same kind of functions in diverse organisms. The example I give here is human as well as fish. Okay, two different organisms, but the same protein is found because probably we have the same ancestor. Alright, third one is embryological evidence. This is probably a 2-mark or a 3-mark question for you. Each one could be asked separately, or a 5-mark for the entire explanation. So please be attentive, note everything down. Next is embryological evidence. Alright, this was given by a person called as Ernest Haeckel, and he found out that embryo, what is an embryo? The developing stage of any organism, of all vertebrates have row of gill slits. What are gill slits? Usually it is useful in fishes, right? But even in human embryo development, these are observed. Therefore, it states that all vertebrates originated from a common ancestor. Alright, next is the one that takes a little more time than the other. So probably they'll ask you this one for other type of questions like what is homologous organ, what is analogous organ, what is a convergent or divergent kind of evolution. So let's understand it properly. This is the fourth kind of evidence. What kind of evidence is this? Anatomical and morphological. Do you know what is the difference between anatomy and morphology? Anatomy is internal structure and morphology is external structure. By comparing these structures of different diverse organisms, we come to know that they all had either probably a common ancestor and so on. So let's learn that. We are going to learn two concepts. One is called homologous organs and another is analogous organs. Both of them are evidences for evolution. Anatomical is homologous, morphological is analogous. Alright. So first one is homologous. What does that mean? There are certain structures, for example, human, man, cheetah, whale, bat, all of them, the forelimb, the front limb has all these, that is humerus, radius, ulna. You have learned this in grade 9 biology, the same way. All this in the same sequence are found in all of these organisms in the forelimb, okay, front limb. However, the use of the same forelimb for all these organisms are different. For man, it is for walking, for cheetah, probably running, whale for swimming, and for bat, it is for flying, right? So, functions remain different. So, read the sentence please. Have similar anatomy. Anatomy is internal structure. All these are same, but perform different functions. Examples you have to learn thoroughly because this is what they ask the questions from. Okay. Another, in case of plants, you find thorn and tendril. Anatomically, they are same. However, their function is different. Thorn is to fend off predators and tendril is for helping the plant to grow around a particular stem or something like that. Now, what is it all showing? It shows that from one point, right, from one point, one particular point, the function diverged, right? From this point where everything remained the same, from there, the functions are diverse now. Different type of functions are seen. So, this kind of evolution is called as diverged evolution, or this is an example of diverged evolution. Another is analogous organ. What exactly is analogous organ? It is the opposite of the previous one. What is it? Let's see. Students, let's understand what is meant by analogous organ now. What is meant by analogous organ is wings of butterfly and wings of birds. Alright. Both of them help the organism to fly. Both of them help him to fly. But internal structure are not at all same. Okay, internally the structures are very different. So what can we say? We can say that the anatomical structure was very different, but then they converged into one point or one kind of function. So that kind of structures where anatomically they are different but functions are same, we call that as analogous structure, and the kind of evolution is converged type of evolution. Alright, more examples are given in your textbook. You're supposed to learn all of them. Eye of octopus and mammal, flipper of penguin and dolphin from the plant kingdom, Sweet potato and potato, we feel like they both are the same category, but they are not. One is a root modification, another is a stem modification, but then they all their function remains same. You know what is the function? The function is to store starch, right? So these are the evidences for evolution. In the upcoming class, we'll be taking up theories of evolution, and most predominantly the most important theory, that is natural selection by Darwin. Alright, I'll see you in the next class. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Thank you.